I'm going to call our Tuesday, April 20th Common Council meeting to order. We have a couple of extra things this evening, and the first is something quite exciting, and that's the introduction of our new and re-elected alder people. So if you each would come up in front of me, all of you at once. Yep. Thank you. So we have District 1, Tom Pash, District 3, Chris Ritten, District 5, Jill Holthouse, District 7, Eric Schmid, and District 9, Jim Romline. And then I'm going to ask the clerk to please issue the oath of office, so you guys can face the crowd, as much as I like seeing you.
Could you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I state your name. Who have been elected to the office of alderperson for the blank district in the city of Watertown. Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge these duties to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations to you all.
Let me take your seats now. Yep. Welcome back, everybody. All right, we'll give Jim just a second. All right, and with that, I'm going to ask you, Lisa, to please take the roll.
Pash,
Here.
Went,
Here.
Ritten,
Here.
Bart,
Here.
Holthouse,
Here.
Wagner,
Here.
Schmid,
Here.
Wetzel,
Here.
Romline.
Here.
Very good. And if everyone would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item on our agenda is the minutes of the council meeting from April 5th. Are there any questions or comments on any of those minutes? I don't have to look at the computer today. I just get to look at all of your faces. Very nice. All right. Our next item is a special item for this evening, and this is the election of the Common Council President. We will do this by secret ballot. You should have a piece of paper in front of you. I would at this time open the floor for nominations for Council President. Mr. Romline.
Madam Chairman, I nominate Chris Rutten for president.
A motion for Chris Ritten. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Second by Went. Any other nominations? All right, I will close the nominations. And if you would please complete the ballots, and then the clerk will collect those.
Council President is Chris Ritten.
All right, congratulations, Mr. Ritten.
Thank you.
Grab you your plaque.
I need that.
All right, our next item is also a special item for tonight, and that is the election of Plan Commission. We will do that just through open ballot. Open the nominations for Plan Commission rep. Mr. Ritten.
I nominate Jim Romline for Plan
All
Commission.
right, motion for Jim Remline,
I'll second that.
second by Went. Any other nominations for this one? All right, I will close the nominations. We have a motion and a second to select Mr. Romline as the chair, as the, you can chair Plan Commission, as the appointee to the Plan Commission. All those am I fine with just a voice vote? Or did you want to roll?
No.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Romline. All right, our next item then, we're back just to our regular agenda, is comments and suggestions from citizens present. Seeing one. Mr. Berg, if you would please come to the microphone and state your name and address.
Yep, thank you for your time, hopefully to listen to some comments I have. I'm Ken Berg. I am 327 South Concord Avenue, and I was on your council for 18 years, so I know the job you do. And I appreciate the work you do for our city. I sincerely mean that. I'm coming on a topic that you're going to be talking about later on involving a city engineer, public works director position, and whether that is a good idea or not. And I'm here to make comments that I think it's the wrong idea, and it's at the wrong time to be pushing an idea like that. I went to a finance committee meeting last week. I work for a living like all of you, and I tried to be there, but I got there at 5:50. The meeting started at 5:30. There was eight items on the agenda, and I was hoping to give, some comment and to watch the discussion on this topic. But when I walked in at 5:50, the meeting was essentially over. They were taking care of the 8th item, and they were done at 5:55. So, my observation on that is, I think, first of all, that COVID is clearly a pandemic that we have to get through. And since I'm a very strong believer on the importance of a mask and why it's important to help get this behind us. On the other hand, it's been a year that we've had it, and I see other boards now where they're coming to committees and having committee of the complete boards or committees in their totality versus having, and I understand the option, but I would like to encourage you, and I'd hope our mayor would encourage that people meet in person, because I really think you're lacking in your ability to deliberate and have good, healthy discussion by the mix of people. When I went there was a couple people from the committee. I think one or two maybe were on the screen, but it just doesn't feel like a deliberative type body that's actually having healthy discussion on topics. And I think that's contributing to these meetings going faster than they should. But I also think in a lot of ways you're a newer council, and these issues are issues that you maybe don't understand entirely, or you have your own reasons for it. But I'm disappointed that there's not more critical thinking on topics that are important to our city. This topic's a big one. It's an important position, and it's something that there should have been a continuation of discussion, and it should have went to the point where I could have at least heard some of it, but I didn't. That said, I'm critical of the position because I went to that meeting with the intent of raising comments critical, and why I felt it was a mistake for going forward with it. And I've actually, in the meantime, our mayor, Emily, did give me the job description. I looked at it briefly, but I asked a few people on the council if they knew what percentage of these duties were city engineer and what percentage were now going to be public works director type functions. And the couple I talked to didn't have an awareness of what portion of that job description, in fact, they didn't have it yet, but that's not the issue. The point I'm saying is I think we should have a better understanding of how much of that job is public works versus city engineer, because we need full-time city engineers to do the work we need in our city. And by taking away a portion of that job and giving it to this now duty of public works director, it's taking away the emphasis where it really needs to be. And I'm a strong believer in department heads being able to do their jobs. We got excellent department heads in large part. I mean, people like Carol Quest have been here forever, and they've done consistently good work. We got an excellent police chief. We got those kind of people don't need people overseeing them. They have a police and fire commission for the chief. They have people like the health board for Carol. Other people, and Public Works Commission, which I was a member of and I was chairman for 7 years. They oversaw the public works functions in a way that worked And it requires a strong, active chairman and good committee members to make it work, along with an active mayor, which you have, and other things can make it work. You don't need this public works director position. It's another layer of cost, another layer of oversight that takes away from people doing their jobs more effectively. And I'm disappointed that those kind of issues were not raised more actively at the committee level. Because I went to a couple meetings and I didn't hear it in a way that I feel is warranted. But I did see, it was in our paper, and so, I get my paper like most of you hopefully do. And again, our city engineer is a good city engineer. But I'm telling you that this issue that was in the front page a few days back said that she wasn't happy with the salary. She feels that she deserves more. And I don't like putting people into jobs where they feel they're undercompensated. I think it takes away, and it takes away the incentives for doing things the way we need in that position. So I'm aware 3 years ago, because I was on Finance Committee with Emily, and we had a discussion on this topic of Public Works Director, city engineer. At that time, we said no to it. It didn't make sense to us because it was another cost. We felt our department heads could do it. At the time, we assigned duties of stormwater utility to Jane Ellen, and we gave her one step. But she felt she should have had 2 steps. So she wasn't, at that time, 3 years ago, she wasn't happy with the pay we gave for the duties at that time, which were specialized to stormwater utility. So the example was actually back then, so I know she's good at what she does, but I'm also saying we need people that are content with what we're doing as far as our plan. And if they aren't, then I think we need to rethink our thinking. So the article did talk about, the fact that this position is going to be $101,500. Again, that's a lot of money, but as a city engineer, they viewed Carlson Detman. When they looked at this position, they felt that it was a comparable type of responsibility, that really it had different duties but comparable in responsibility, and therefore they kept it at a certain grade that was similar. And your mayor recommended a 1-step increase, a couple $1,000s. But ironically, 3 years ago, again, when we did have this discussion on stormwater utility, we gave her that 1% or that 1-step increment increase. Now, when we hired the stormwater utility manager, I don't know the status of whether she lost that step, but in the end, those duties were assigned to large part a manager that you have now, a new position, a position that's going to do some good, hopefully, for our city. But just keep in mind that this, it's more complicated when you look into it than you think. And the topic of compensation has to be looked at in its totality as far as the actual job they're doing versus what they are doing now. And I pointed out why I would hope that you would look at it again more critically. And the new information is that you've got a position, it went through a committee, it's now in the full council. People like Jim and Bob and others that aren't on that committee can hopefully have added discussion and add some of their concerns and issues that help generate discussion here at this meeting to see if it has any different view today versus a week ago. But I think there's some new information. I think it does warrant your rethinking and discussing this hopefully in a better way. Carlson Detman, we hired them to give us recommendations on job descriptions and what they should be paid based on the job description. They came back and they told us what they feel that position warrants. And to question that, is it's the wrong thing to do. And I think it reflects on the fact that I would encourage you to keep people like Jane Ellen in their positions, help make that engineering department full-time so we can keep more work in-house. Rupert Melke, in the last year, has got a contract for over $200,000 doing contracting services that are engineering related. We've got other people that we hire for annual streets design. Those kind of duties, some of them can be done in-house, but we need full-time city engineer type people. We have a good core. Andy's a good worker, a good engineer. We have Jane Allen. We have the core of what we need in order to be able to take that on more actively and do things in-house to save money and to do things more efficiently versus contracting out and adding more cost and not getting as much for your dollar. That's really what Watertown's all about, is to be efficient and to look at where we can do things in-house. And I'm very proud of the history of this town when it comes to our departments and what they do. And one of the real active departments is streets and the things they do to make our city more efficient. When you look at annual streets and what we get done in-house versus contracting out, that's unique to Watertown. And it's something we should keep, and we should have the people there to do it, and we should have the staff there to do it, and we can. But we can't be looking for solutions that are going to complicate some of the plan for trying to be efficient. And I see some of the intentions are well-intended, but they're going in the wrong direction from my view. And I'm asking you to rethink. And I'm asking you to consider some of the history of this city and why it's uniquely different than other cities and why it's worked the way it has. Strong department heads overseen by a mayor and a public works commission and a committee structure and council members that are active. That can work. It's just getting the right people in the right jobs and giving them direction. We had a previous city engineer who was also a very good engineer, Joe Radicke. But we gave him some duties that were public works function type duties. And we ended up taking them back over a period of time because it wasn't working the way we wanted it to. So we already have an experience of trying this concept, and it didn't work. And that's not that long ago. So a good engineer does not necessarily make them a good public works director type person. And I'm emphasizing that as a reason why you should reconsider, rethink over, and talk through more actively the rationale for it, and vote no on the resolution. Because in the end, I think it's going to save money, it's going to be doing things more effectively, and it's going to be keeping these departments working where they are the way they were always meant to be, actively doing their contribution to making our town a better city, a better town for the residents, and to provide services that are efficiently done. That's the history of Watertown. And I was there to help contribute toward that, and I don't like seeing some of the changes because of my background. I've got a public works type background. I got a degree in public administration. I understand the concept, but I don't think it is needed for Watertown. That's why I'm asking you to think it through. And appreciate listening to me, though.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I will, that item is last on our agenda, and I will address some of the inaccuracies during that time. All right, we have several public hearings, so let's get to the first one. The first is to amend Chapter 550 of the zoning code through the creation of Section 550-49G. This is for central business apartments. This legislation will create a residential multi-unit greater than 12 units, land use for the central business zoning district. I will open that public hearing. Does anyone wish to comment on that one? See anyone online, so I'll close that public hearing. The next is to amend Chapter 550 of the zoning code through creating Section 550-34B, Paren 2, Paren K, central business apartments. This legislation would make central business apartments a principal land use allowed by conditional use. I will open that public hearing. Anyone on that one? All right, I will close that public hearing. Our next is to amend Chapter 550 of the zoning code through adding a definition under Section 550-15, central business apartments. This legislation creates a definition for central business apartments. These are all obviously related. I will open that public hearing. Anyone wishing to comment on that one? All right, I'll close that public hearing. And our last is to amend Chapter 550 of the zoning code through amending Section 550-50B, husbandry. This legislation would remove apiaries as a husbandry land use. So this one is separate from the others. I will open that public hearing. Anyone wishing to comment on that one? All right. Easiest public hearings you've ever had, Jacob. All right, let's go to committee reports. We have the Finance Committee from April 12th, the Plan Commission from April 12th, and Public Safety and Welfare Committee from April 7th. Does anyone have any comments on any of those? All right, very good. We have no old business. Our first item is employee recognition. We have a few for you this evening. You'll see on the list, we have Rob Rowe from the Street and Solid Waste Department for 30 years, Vince Riedel from Streets and Solid Waste for 20 years, and Keith Rain from Streets and Solid Waste for 5 years. We also have Jim Arndt, and Jim is with us this evening. Jim, if you would come up and join me. And I think Pete's attending remotely. So, Pete's attending remotely fashion, I have a novel to share about Jim. So Jim has been working with the city of Watertown for 35 years, and all of that is with the sewer utility, working on maintenance of collection system and plant operation and equipment. Jim demonstrates outstanding contributions to our city with his dedication and knowledge, with direct and indirect work needed to protect the water quality in the Rock River. Jim is unique in many ways and has a skill set that's difficult to find these days. He's cautious, safe, thinks well under pressure, understands the effect of his decisions on a piece of equipment, and understands what that'll have on all of the parts of the complex network of operations. This is a really difficult task. Jim displays a high level of workmanship and pride in minimizing interruptions and inconveniences to the businesses, industry, and citizens of the city of Watertown. Jim's job in Watertown has widely varied workload involving many multifaceted and substantial variables, requiring analytical ability and inductive thinking and adaptive policies, techniques, and methods to fit unusual and complex situations. That was a Pete sentence if I ever read one. Jim is able to interpret and or create technical manuals, sewer and water distribution maps, mechanical drawings, and electrical drawings. He has a working knowledge to operate welding equipment, wastewater process equipment, fabrication equipment, collection system equipment, tool and die equipment, electrical and variable speed drives, fleet vehicles, heavy equipment, generators, and I bet you the list goes on. All of these are critical to the protection of the environment and the permit compliance that we have by the state of Wisconsin. Pete shares that Watertown is lucky to have Jim as an employee all these years, and I would second that. I know in addition to the incredible amount of work that Jim does as an employee for Water and Wastewater, he also donates a lot of his time to Riverfest, making sure that that runs well, and he has certainly demonstrated what service is. We have his daughter as an intern for a year. So I'm appreciative not only of what you've given for 35 years, but I hope you continue to give to us, but just the example that you're setting of what service means. So congratulations, Jim. This 35 years isn't captured in a piece of paper, but thank you so much. Please join me. I hope I did it justice, Pete. All right. Okay, our next one is the council appointments. Is there a motion on those?
So moved.
Motion by Pash,
I'll second that.
second by Written. Comments or questions on any of these? Before I take a vote, I am going to point out something I failed to point out earlier. You all have this envelope with a SD card in it and a letter. Last year when you guys came on, we gave you a binder. So for those of you that still have that, a lot of this is on this SD card, but there's, or a jump drive. It's a jump drive, isn't it? But there's also some new information. So still pop it in your computer, open it up. If for some reason it doesn't work for you or you need or prefer a written version, just let us know. Otherwise, this is all the orientation materials that you'll need and some updated ones from last year. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the committee appointments. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, next is our citizen appointments to committees.
I'll make a motion to approve the citizen appointments.
Motion by Written, second by Bartz. Questions on this one? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, next is somewhat related to COVID. This in your packets is an article regarding the American Rescue Plan. This is from Boardman Clark, which is a law firm that we receive newsletters from, but I did run it past the city attorney to make sure and the city clerk to make sure they were comfortable and supported the content in it, and they did indeed do that. I'm providing this to you all really as a jumping off point. We know that the city is poised to get about $2.4 million in two separate allocations over the next couple of years. We'll have to spend that by 2024. I've been on countless webinars with fellow executives, and everyone is kind of coalescing around the same thing, and that's when is the Treasury guidance going to come out? So we don't have a date for that. We're continuing to submit questions through our lobbying entity to Treasury to make sure that they include certain items either for or against, just so we have clear-cut guidance. But I wanted to provide this to you all just to kind of start thinking. The intention that I have, and I'm open to your feedback outside of this meeting because we didn't notice this as discussion, but I plan to have when that guidance comes in, everyone on the leadership team will kind of digest that. Alex, our new strategic initiatives advisor and development coordinator, will really become the subject matter expert on that, along with the clerk. And then we're going to bring the leadership team together, and I'm asking them as a team with us to make a recommendation to the finance committee on how they suggest spending some of this money. Obviously, that's for you guys to take or to leave, but I at least wanted us to have some topics to begin the discussion. So once we have that documentation from the Treasury, we'll pull everyone together, we'll make some recommendations internally, we'll get those out to a committee, and then we'll kind of start the dialogue from there. If you don't prefer that process, let me know. If there's things that you want to make sure that are very important to you that would be included, let me know that as well. That'll help our discussions go a little faster. Any questions on that? Okay. I have, our next item then is the COVID-19 update and discussion. And as you all saw me stumbling very much to get this going, I have a PowerPoint that I'll forward to you after the meeting. But I'm going to just read a couple of high notes sadly, from my phone. So the first thing that Carol shares is about our vaccine data. We are at 3,871 first doses, 2,428 second doses, for a total of 6,299. We're still, at this point, we've only administered the Moderna vaccine, and we are providing vaccine to homebound individuals, and just continuing the coordination that we've had with our local healthcare providers. You'll see, I'm not going to read all these to you, but I will just point out on this slide deck that I will be sure to send you, you're going to see a list of the frequency of vaccine side effects for the Moderna vaccine. So, for example, pain at the injection site is at 92%, fatigue 70%, headache 64%. And then the list goes down through muscle pains, chills, joint pains, nausea, swelling, things like that. So you'll see that. I know both myself and Carol have been receiving a lot of questions around, is this normal? Have you heard this? So this is a good summary of that. The next slide that you'll see, we'll talk about the J&J vaccine. I'm going to leave that for your reading. It's what you've heard in the news. There is an advisory committee on immunization practices, or they call it ACIP. They'll be meeting to hold a second emergency meeting on April 23rd, which I think is Friday. So we should know more by the end of the week. We do have some J&J vaccine. We hadn't administered it yet. Ironically, we were going to administer it that morning, and the advisory came in during the night. So we have not administered any, but we do have some. You're also going to see in here some guidance on if you are fully vaccinated. So there's guidance in here about if you're fully vaccinated, which means you've completed your series and it's been 2 weeks, about suggestions and guidance on visiting other fully vaccinated people, unvaccinated people. So there's a good reference point for you all. I know some of you are getting those questions. Our local case numbers, so we are at 2,614 confirmed cases. Right now we have 65 active confirmed cases, and our deaths are at 43. You'll see the other numbers in the typical presentation that you usually see. There's also the cumulative cases based on age that'll be in that PowerPoint for you. Eyeballing it, I'm not seeing any real change in the age brackets that we're used to seeing the majority of cases be in. The Board of Health will be, which I think is meeting next week, will be hearing a proposal from us, which I think I've mentioned, that we would be, we had the phase reopening plan as guidance. We knew that phase 4 was about widely available vaccine, and that wasn't, it was pretty vague. So the Health Board will be receiving a recommendation to shift away from the phased reopening plan because we have widely available vaccine, and they'll be reviewing and potentially approving a different presentation that will come on Wednesdays. So if that is of interest to you, I believe they typically meet on Thursdays, and it's either next week or the week after. Obviously, it'll be in the meeting notice. Any questions? Mr. Ritten.
You had mentioned the amount of vaccines that the city has administered. That's just City of Watertown Health Department administering.
Correct.
You said 6,000, so that doesn't take into account Hometown Pharmacy, Walgreens, doctors. Any idea what the percentage of across
Yeah.
the city is?
So I don't have it off the top of my head, and the reason, but we're working on getting it. So the data goes into a state system that keeps track of, I think it's called IMMR. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what it's called. It's a state system that tracks immunizations. And the way the dashboard kicks out is, I believe, by county. And so Carol's been, since we're not in a county, Carol gets kind of piecemealed reports from DHS when she requests them for just the city. So I know she's working on getting that, and that number, a ratio, is what we'll be presenting in that new presentation to Board of Health. So I presume we'll have something by next week. Other questions? All right, let's move on then. We have no new business. Our next is the accounts payable.
Madam Mayor, I move we pay all accounts payable.
Motion by Romline.
I'll second.
Second by Wetzel. While you were gone, it stayed in District 9. Linda did it for a really long
All
time,
right.
too. Any questions on the accounts? Elissa?
Romline,
Aye.
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Abstain.
Barth,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
All right, we have, the next item then is reports and miscellaneous business. You have the cash and investment summary for March 31st, licensing board from April 14th, the municipal board of canvas from April 9th, police and fire commission from March 8th, the payroll summary of March 24th to April 6th, the reserve balances from March 31st, and the tourism commission from March 11th. Any questions or comments on any of those? All right, let's go to licenses then. We have one for you this evening. This is an application for a permanent premise amendment to include the courtyard, so adding the front courtyard, kitchen, and storage in Suite D, and area connecting Suite D and storage area at the Bar LLC, doing business as the Bar. Misty Hahn is the agent, and that's at 210 South Water Street. Is there a motion for that one?
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve by Went.
Second.
Second by Bartz. Any comments or questions? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Very good. Motion carries. Our next item then is ordinances. We have ordinance 21-19. This is to repeal and recreate Chapter 512-34, Private Fire Hydrant Service of the City of Watertown Code. This is here from Public Works on, Alderman Pash and Public Works on the second reading.
Move to approve ordinance 21-19.
Motion by Pash,
I'll second that.
second by Written. Any questions? We've got the chief virtual tonight if anyone has any.
Mayor, how many private hydrants do we have in this city?
I want to say 126, but
Wow.
let me ask. Pete or Craig, how many private hydrants do we have?
126, you were correct.
Only Tuesday. My mind's not mushy yet. Thank you, Pete. Any other questions? Elissa?
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Aye.
Barth,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Romline,
Aye.
All right, next is ordinance 21-20. This is to create a portion of section 500-9 for an A, parking prohibited in specified places of chapter 500, vehicles and traffic, and this is in our municipal code. This is here from Alderman Schmidt and Public Safety on the second reading.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Schmidt,
I'll second that.
second by Went. Any comments or questions? Elissa?
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Romline,
Aye.
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Aye.
Barth,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
All right, then let's go to resolutions. We have Exhibit 9201. This is a resolution to authorize the construction of the interurban trailhead bathroom facility. This is here from me and the Finance Committee.
Madam Mayor, I move for that.
Motion by Romline,
Second.
second by Bartz. Any questions on this one? Elissa?
Romline,
Aye.
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Aye.
Barth,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
All right, next is Exhibit 9202. This is a resolution to award the 2021 Interurban Trailhead Site Work Contract 6-21. This is here from Alderman Pash and Public Works.
Move to approve,
9202.
9202.
Motion by Pash.
Second.
Ooh, second by Romline. Questions on this one? Elissa?
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Aye.
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Romline,
Aye.
All right, next is Exhibit 9203. This is a resolution to approve the wastewater utility purchase of real estate from Bethesda Lutheran Communities in the amount of $210,000. This is here from both myself in Finance and Alderman Pash in Public Works.
Move to approve Exhibit 9203.
Motion by Pash,
I'll second.
second by Holthouse. Questions or comments on this one? Elissa?
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Aye.
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Romline,
Aye.
All right, next is Exhibit 9204. This is a resolution to enter into contract for construction of a backstop at Brent Park. This is here from Alderman Bartz and Park Recreation and Forestry.
Move to approve.
Motion by Bartz,
I'll second that.
second by Written. Questions or?
Question. I might have missed it, but where is this backstop?
It's one of the diamonds at Brankwork. I think it's
Diamond zero.
Is it Diamond Zero?
Yeah, it's got
New backstop?
new backstop.
Or replacing one, or is it?
No, there's not one there. It's a smaller field. It's not a full-size field. So
Okay.
Yeah, so last year, we added, during 2020, we added Diamond Zero. It's more of like a Little League size field, and I would say it's as close to the park, it's the field closest to the parking lot now.
Okay. It's been a while since I've had a child playing, so haven't been out there.
Any other questions? All right, Elissa?
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Romline,
Aye.
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Aye.
Next is Exhibit 9205. This is a resolution to enter into leases for the purposes of operating the Watertown Park and Recreation Cart Park Program. This is here from Alderman Bartz and Park Rec and Forestry.
I'll move to approve this one, too.
Motion by Bartz,
I'll second.
second by Holthouse. Questions on this one? Yeah.
There's a lot of legalese in this and stuff with the Gibsons. What is this exactly?
So I can take that, so, or unless you want to.
Randy's on too, right?
Yes.
They actually have a mobile cart that they have games and things like that. And they take them to, right now we have two locations in the city. One's on Bowden Street, and the other one's over on Clement Street on the west side. And we agreed, the property owners agree to lease these spots to us for $1 a year for the season, I guess. So,
So one cart?
Yeah, so it's a trailer.
trailer.
Sure. gotcha. Okay.
It basically, it was a newer program that we started in the last year or two. It essentially ensures access to park and recreation for kids who don't have a park within a quarter to a half mile. And these two right now are serving some multifamily housing in particular. Good question. Any other questions?
Did we get a chance to do this last year? I think last year was the first year with COVID.
Yeah, we did. Randy, are you
Limited
there?
basis.
I am here.
Do you want to share a little bit about the frequency at which we did Cart Park?
Yeah, we ran it for about roughly 6 weeks at these same sites. And you did a good job of describing where they were at and the population that they serve. We did keep it low key because of COVID, so we didn't market it as much as we would have liked. We plan to do much more, a bigger push this summer. It should be a very popular program.
Awesome.
Any other questions? Elissa?
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Romline,
Aye.
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Aye.
All right, next is Exhibit 9206. This is a resolution to update our continuity of operations plan. This is here from me.
Madam Mayor, I move for 9206.
Thank you. Motion by Romline,
Second.
second by Pash. The chief is here if you guys have any specific questions. To my awareness, we were just updating personnel. Chief, anything you'd add to that?
So this is just a yearly update. We did add more stuff for IT and HR.
Okay. Any questions for the chief? Are you fine with the voice vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, very good. Next is Exhibit 9207. And I have, as you guys know, I have to read everything on the agenda, so this is a long one. This is a resolution to approve the City of Watertown to sign petitions for discontinuance of East Division Street for 806 East Division Street, 808 East Division Street, 810 East Division Street, and 900 East Division Street. This is pursuant to Wisconsin statute, Chapter 66.1003, Paren 6. This is here from me, and I'll explain it as soon as it's on the floor.
I'll move for that.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Wetzel, second by Romline. So when property owners are looking to redevelop, they sometimes ask for vacations of portions of a street. That's a statutorily dictated process. In order to do that, they have to have, I believe it's 2/3 of the property owners sign off. Is that correct, Jacob? Okay. What Jacob said. So the nuts and bolts of it is, we own some of this property. And so because it's a legally the vacation that this person would potentially file is a legally binding document, I need your permission to sign the vacation. Essentially, in signing it, we would be saying that we're not uncomfortable with that portion of road being closed. I'm going to ask you to come to the microphone. It's the portion of road right by the old Johnsonville site. Is that correct?
Correct. East Division ran into the parking lot of the old Johnsonville plant.
Does anyone have questions on this while Jacob's here?
I do.
Yes.
I was just wondering if there's any utilities under that street, water, sewer, storm that we're responsible for?
Not for East Division. The one to the south, the one that's on this county line, I can't remember what that one, they're not vacating that one at this time. East Division, there might be some, I don't think there's anything in the portion that they're asking for vacation. Again, this is just for us to sign off on the letter of discontinuance that they sent out to us. This will still come back to the Common Council for the actual vacation. This is not the vacation portion of it. This is just to us to sign off to say that as property owners within 2,650 feet from the vacation, that we are willing to allow that to occur. It's just, it still has to come here to this body.
For formal approval
Yes.
of the vacation itself. So this is just giving me permission to sign the vacation petition.
Correct.
Any other questions for Jacob?
I do, Jacob. There's no other houses there, right? There's just the parking lot.
Correct. Their property completely surrounds it. It doesn't even go to the apartment that's on the corner.
Okay.
There is an apartment complex not a complex, but a single-family home that's
Yeah.
a duplex, and it does not extend over to that. If it did extend to that, 50% of that right-of-way would go to that property by state statutes, so that they're not going that far. It's just the portion that was in the parking lot of Johnsonville, so it was completely surrounded by the Johnsonville property. So they get full access of the vacation.
So how did they get all these addresses then?
They have to pretty much go create a line 2,650 feet from where they end the dedicate, or where the dedication ends. And then they have to they go to the county website, get the information of every property within that distance, and then they sent a letter out to every property owner. If they didn't get to the 30%, they would have had to start going door to door to get signatures and stuff like that. I believe this securely puts them over 30% into the 44% of the frontage owners in that distance. So they're just hedging their bets by getting our signature as well.
Other questions for Jacob? All right, thank you, Jacob.
You're welcome.
Are you fine with the voice on this one? Any other discussion in general? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, our next is Exhibit 9208. This is a preliminary resolution declaring the intent to exercise special assessment powers under Section 66.0703.4 of Wisconsin statutes. This is here from Alderman Pash and Public Works.
I'll move Exhibit 9208.
Motion by Pash,
I'll second.
second by Holthouse. Comments or questions?
I'm just curious.
I was gonna say, no one on this one,
I was gonna say
really?
something, but I already know the whole story.
I think I held that pause longer than I hold most. I'm like, really, nobody, go
I was gonna
ahead.
ask you to give a summary, man.
I would have deferred to the Chair of Public Works.
I will defer to him right now, then I'll have
Okay.
a question afterwards.
Do you want to provide a quick summary? Or I can ask Ms., is this your topic? Go ahead, Jana.
Go ahead, Jay. Well, you can probably speak the, I can give you the layman term.
Whenever the city has infill sidewalk that needs to be constructed for the first time, the city follows basically the state statutes on this, and we are required to do a special assessment. A few years back, Public Works Commission passed a resolution, I guess actually it's an ordinance, that required participation in a special assessment for first-time sidewalks, a 2/3 participation by the property owner and 1/3 participation by the city. And so part of this requirement is to, under the special assessment process, to provide this preliminary resolution, basically putting on notice that we'll be moving forward with the special assessment. The property owners are aware of this. In this particular case, the sidewalk is being petitioned for a special needs child that is in the residence, and they have sought a grant from Jefferson County to help defer their expenses in the construction of the sidewalk. It also happens to coincidentally be within the 2021 Annual Street Program this year, so sidewalk is going to be being done in that area.
Questions for Jane Ellen while she's there? Mr. Britton?
Do we anticipate this being a contentious issue with the owners in the area? These typical things usually are, not this case, though?
No, we've not had any indication, and we are now mobilized, not in that neighborhood, but we are mobilized on and starting the 2021 Annual Street Program, and we've not received any comments or concerns.
Great.
Did you mention that resident was using a grant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's first-time sidewalk. If it was existing sidewalk, we go in, when we're doing a reconstruction of street, if a sidewalk needs replacement because it's cracked or damaged, that's covered as part of the project. But again, this is first-time sidewalk, so we're following the policies and procedures set forth for a new sidewalk.
Any other questions? Thanks, Jane Ellen. Any other questions in general? All right, Elissa.
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Written,
Aye.
Barth,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Ronline,
Aye.
All right, very good. Our last one then this evening is Exhibit 9209. This is a resolution to update the 2021 payroll resolution to address the position of city engineer to Director of Public Works / city engineer. This is here from me and the Finance Committee.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve Exhibit 9209.
Motion by Written, second by Bartz. Questions, comments? Mr. Wetzel?
I received a couple of communications with constituents about this. I was wondering if we could ask the Finance Committee, so it can be out there, why this is good. I guess you could do it, how about from the Finance Committee? Is that possible? Or members of the?
Yeah, I've tried to stay a bit quiet on this one on purpose, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'll go ahead and put my 2 cents in. So, full disclosure, I work for a civil engineering company, Rupert Nokia. I think everyone knows that. I've been in the engineering surveying industry for over 20 years. And what I've witnessed in southern Wisconsin is this position is generally there for cities our size. And I also spoke with the president of the company I work for right now and asked him, because he's been in the industry for 35 years. And he said the same thing. For a city the size of Watertown, it's a really, really good idea to have a Director of Public Works position. And the reason he gave to me was that, in his words, it helps everyone play nice. If what he's witnessed in his experience is sometimes departments will create their own little kingdoms or fiefdoms, he called them. And there's a disconnect between the departments, between the groups, It just, it creates a lack of continuity of, there's a word I'm looking for. Well, yeah, transparency. Anyway, solely based on, well, not solely based, but largely based on experience from the people that I've spoke to in the industry, this is a good idea. And from what I've learned in our committee discussions, that there seems to be a need for this. Some people disagree, but we've had some good, healthy discussions about this in several different committee meetings. And this was the consensus, unanimous consensus.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Romley?
comment?
Sure.
As we look at the way things are being done now, they're very different from the way they were done 3 years ago. They're very different from the way they were done 6 years ago. The tools that we have available to us now have completely changed the way everything works. And we can't base the things that we're going to do in the future on the things that we did in the past. It just doesn't work. If we did that, we'd have water troughs on Main Street. Okay? We're moving at such a rapid rate of change right now that it's hard to see over the horizon what's coming to us. We've got to be anticipatory of these changes. And I think this is a good move to be ready for those kind of changes and to take advantage of that, the changes we already have made. So I'm in favor of it.
Thank you. Mr. Barr?
Yeah, could we get clarification on the division of Jane Ellen's responsibilities here, how it's going to be split between city engineer and the director of public works?
Like percentage-wise?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to hold hard and fast to a percentage, and the reason I'm comfortable saying that is there's not a department head in this city that has percentages attached to the job duties listed in their job description. When it's in the height of planning for annual streets, and Jane Ellen is reviewing the 60% plan submissions from our designer, probably a city engineer. When she's coordinating the contracts, probably the public works director. When I go for a walk on Monday during my lunch and I come back and notice that the seawall's crumbling, just as an example, probably going to, which happens, then public works director. So I know that people have asked for that percentage, and to be frank, and I'm going to be careful for those of you that are new, I can't debate when I'm sitting in this chair, so I can only provide factual information. So that's why I asked someone else to provide the response. So I'm going to provide you just factual information. That's why I said no other department head has that. There was comment that the stormwater utility is what was added. That's not factual. What was added was the capital improvement project work. There's been, as Mr. Ritten shared, a lot of discussion. I mean, we started talking about this in December. We met nearly monthly on the topic, as many of you know, and many of you participated in that as well. So I want just the fact to be clear that there was a lot of discussion. Each time I left with a laundry list of items that I needed to research and bring back to the body, and then people discuss those. I would say too, just to level set with folks, we had a public works director in the 60s. We had one in the 70s. We had one in the 80s. You heard about one in the 90s. The documentation around the continuity of that from decade to decade is difficult to piece together. I'm literally looking sometimes at like a envelope that says Director of Public Works with a stamp that says 4 cents and Googling what year that was. But, so I mean, don't hold me hard and fast to the decades, decades sequentially, but I found documentation of a long history, not just Mr. Radike. So I just wanted to be clear that it wasn't just the stormwater utility. And, there's always discussion, and I think I've shared this with some of you. Again, factually, there are services that are contracted out. Those services that we contract out, if we were to decide to do those in-house, we would be investing in tens of thousands of dollars of technology and systems that we would use twice a year, 3 times a year. that's why you'll see some of those services being done in that manner from a factual perspective. So, Mr. Bartz, I'd love to give you a percentage by percentage. Trust me, I would, because I'm accustomed to that. As a state employee, everything is percentaged out, but we don't have that in any job description that I oversee, and I think it's going to sincerely vary day to day. And I would say, when you're being the city engineer, you're also being the public works director. We have a lot of, so to answer, actually, I wish I could answer your question, but that wouldn't be factual, that'd be my opinion, so I'll stop there. I'd have to, like, give the chair to Chris it's just a mess. So if someone really needs to know, let me know after. It's just a lot easier not to. Yeah, Mr. Ritten.
So there was a opinion provided by Mr. Berg of, that they took it away from the last engineer, Mr. Radike. I'm not sure we know why, or we can maybe give reasons for it, or, because he said it didn't work. Okay, that's his opinion. I wasn't there.
Yeah. I've read through the minutes, and I'm comfortable enough to say that I wouldn't base those minutes on my decision. And I didn't. I would have brought this all to, I wouldn't have brought this all to you if I read those minutes and felt, uncomfortable about it. But I wasn't there. I can't speak to, I've only read the minutes. Ms. Prash?
Without trying to be redundant, I think I agree with most of the other comments. Having chaired Public Works and been on finance, we're talking about, one of the other comments Mr. Berg made is about the annual increase to compensation. So I don't think this is a huge commitment on our part to try this rollout, something that's been done before. Having bared witness to some of these challenges within the departments, I don't think anybody's trying to take away the authority of the department heads, but just create more synergy and more transparency, as Alder Ritten had said. And I believe everyone has attested to Jane Ellen's aptitude and her intellect and ability to do this job, so there's no concerns there. So I think we'd be remiss not to give this a try. Nothing's a permanent arrangement if it's not the right fit, but it is evident that we need a little more synergy between departments, and quite honestly, could lead to a fiscal benefit. So while there's a cost to take this role on, you talk about creating greater efficiencies, potentially improving hard cost expenses. I mean, the potential is great, and the risk is quite minimal. So not trying to sell it, I went back and forth on it myself, but I think ultimately it is something, after being in Public Works, that we could benefit from if it works out.
So just a question, is the long-term intent to create two separate positions, one for the city engineer and one for a Public Works director? Is that the long-term intent I see with a step kind of dual-headed position, temporary fit, as Alderman Pash was mentioning in this position?
I can't speak for a future mayor or a future governing body. It's not my intent.
I meant from the Finance Committee board, for the members that were on the committee that they're.
It was never discussed, no.
Okay.
No.
I'd start to clarify that question. I didn't quite understand it.
So I'm asking, is it
Mr.
like
Schmidt.
a temporary, like, two-hat thing?
No, I think the role was intended not just, I'm just saying that we can reevaluate any determination, but I don't think it was with the intent of just being temporary.
The intention is not to down the road say, we're going to have a public works director and a city engineer. The intention for me, and based on the discussion I heard with finance committee members, and really the example that we modeled this off of, this is a city engineer, public works
I agree.
director. That's the examples we looked at.
And my last point with, in terms of outsourcing, I think you touched on it, Mayor. Those, I think we'd incur those expenses regardless, or those external resources. So I don't think that Jane Ellen is overwhelmed in her role or lacks the ability to support this additional responsibility. I don't know, I guess, I don't
I'm sure
feel like-
Jane Ellen would love to spend 80 grand on a piece of software that we use twice a year. I just don't think it's in the best interest of our budget.
Correct, yes. I don't know if there creates any real benefit there in terms of her aptitude to do more.
And just a couple things that I wanted to note was, based on what he said, it's going to create better communication between the departments, to have that person to go to when the mayor's not around, or vice versa. And also, I think Jane Allen has an excellent staff of assistant city engineer that can handle some of the responsibilities when she needs to step away to be that public works director.
My last question is, when is the mayor never not around?
Well, we need her bringing more business and going out there in the community a little bit more, I think. Don't you think that?
Chris is about to find out tomorrow when I won't be around.
Oh, good.
No, just kidding. Just kidding. Mr. Wetzel.
To Alder Schmidt's question, I asked the same thing. And I said, if it comes to that, I might not be sitting here next year, but if it comes to that, I'm going to be jumping up and down saying, no way, we're not going to spend money for that. If I may, when Mr. Berg started to talk, I wrote down some thoughts in my head, if I could just share. Some's redundant. And there's no certain order to this. As I shared with a couple of people, anything with two heads or more is a freak. If you have many people trying to head up a street construction, who's the head? Who's the ultimate one? You had a freak. It was mentioned that the police has one head. Fire has one head. Public health has one head. They all basically have one job. Public safety. I guess in a nutshell, their main job is public safety. They're not trying to do different things. As for public works, if they're building a street, from what I know, you got to have someone to say, what do we need to build this street? An engineering department. You need to have someone to know what kind of drains, what kind of laterals and pipes and all the technical jargon. I have no idea. All that stuff underneath there. Someone like the water department needs to tell us what they got to do. You have to have somebody on the top of that putting down asphalt or concrete to know what they're doing. And 2 inches, 4 inches. You have 3 departments working right there. Someone's got to be the head holding on to those reins and saying, this is where we're going. Public Works Commission. I'm not sure how much they dictate what is done. I know we have the power to say yes or no on things. I don't know how much myself about engineering. I know nothing. Plumbing, I can use a plunger. Put my disposal in Sunday, I can do that. But other than that, I don't know anything. I wrote down, is Jane Ellen the right choice? The mayor's confident she is. We'll see. We will see. It's a new venture. We'll see, though. And she has demonstrated her ability overseeing a department with a number of people in it, and we will see how that carries on with this responsibility. As was mentioned, Joe Radike was the city engineer. They tried it with him. It didn't work. For whatever reason, as Alderman Ritten said, I have no idea. I have no idea why either. But if it doesn't work, we can always come back to 2021 and do it the way we've done it. I don't see what's going to happen there. The issue of the salary, the cost is extremely minimal for the city. Just in the remuneration of it. Alderman Bartz had my question, the percentage, that's taken care of. And I guess to the mayor, are you confident that we'll have 100% engineering, 100% public works director? That's 200% out of one person. That's a lot. Are you confident we'll have that?
Yes, is my short answer. I wouldn't have put this topic knowing how much work it would take and how much, difficult conversations would come up. I wouldn't have embarked on this if I didn't think we'd end up in the right place for our city and with the right person leading the department. So frankly, you guys, in a lot of ways, she is and has been the public works director for a very long time. She controls the money, she just doesn't control the people. And so there's not a stitch of my being that has concern. And that's a high standard to hold, and I'm confident she'll hold it.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'm hearing consensus all the way around. I call the question.
We haven't had a call to question in a long time. All right. We have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Yeah.
We do. All right, go ahead, Elissa.
Britton,
Aye.
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmid,
No.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Rumline,
Aye.
Pash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
All right, thank you all. Next then is comments and suggestions from citizens present. Seeing none, I would thank you all for staying with us, and welcome our new member. And committee assignments start next week. So make sure that you get those on your calendar and get, well, they start technically now, but I don't think we have anything left this week. So get those on your calendar. And with that, I look for motion to adjourn.
Motion, Wetzel?
Wetzel,
Second.
second by Wagner. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thanks so much, everyone.